All right, guys, we've just opened the doors. Apologies for being a few minutes behind schedule there. We had just a little technical glitch. But a very warm good morning to you, or a good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you're chiming into us for our first Leadership Summit of 2025. So very excited to have you all here. For those who I haven't met before, my name's Bren Ward. I'm one of the founders here at Wize. And I'm lucky enough to be joined by a good few of our team members from Wize today. So I'll kick off by letting them say good morning. So Jamie, give everyone a wave and say good morning. I'm just turning my heater off. It's very noisy.
G'day everyone. Yeah, Jamie here. Hope you're really looking forward to a good couple of solid hours of learning. So I'm based in sunny Ballarat, Victoria, Australia.
Good stuff. Christy, give us a wave.
Hi everyone, great to see so many of you here today.
Very good. So Christy's one of our amazing mentors and a firm owner down in Tasmania. Thomas, give us a wave.
Hey, good to be here. Excited for today's Leadership Summit.
Excellent. Thomas is in Sydney and one of our mentors. And then we've got Danny, our head of talent over there. Danny Bray, give us a wave.
Hi everyone.
And then I'm just going to tell you just to wave because there's too many of you to open your mic up and say hello. We'll be here all hour. So all the other Wize team, give everyone a wave for me. I'm sure they're all familiar enough to you at this stage, but we do have quite a few people here who may not be that familiar with Wize. So if this is your first interaction with us, a very warm welcome to you. This is a safe space for you, a familiar space, and hopefully some familiar faces in here. We love these sessions, guys, these leadership summits where we invite not just the firm owners who we typically work with on a day-to-day basis, but we invite everyone. So from any corner of your office, virtual or in person, anyone's invited into this session. If they're not here today, highly recommend you bring it along to the next session because it's a great couple of hours together on a great topic. So before we get stuck into the session, just from our experience of running these in the past, some of the little bits of housekeeping, which I'm sure you're all familiar enough with now and happy to oblige by. The first thing is this is an interactive session. We're talking about leadership, which means we're talking about people, and we want to see your lovely faces wherever we can. So if you have a webcam, we'd love for you to turn it on, please. And we just helps us engage with you, helps us read the room, and it helps you have a better time because you can engage with a face instead of just a voice. The second thing is we know you're all flat out busy. We know our ideal clients very well. So that means that we know that the email's probably pinging. We know the instant chat's pinging. But for these next two hours, just leave them aside. So if you could turn them off, if you could be present, that would be brilliant as well, because you'll all benefit from it. And just the final thing is, sometimes we tend to be a bit of a shy bunch, but when we warm you up, we can't get you to shut up. So we'd rather the latter problem. So if you are open to, please come, be open, be willing to interact, be willing to have a chat, have a conversation. And if there's crickets in the room, we just start picking on people. So yeah, be here and be open to have a great session together. For those who are familiar with Wize, you'll be familiar with the rule of 33, but for those who are new to us today, we try and live by what we call the Wize rule of 33 as much as we possibly can. And it's one of our core values. And what we mean by the rule of 33 is that when we live with intention, we spend our time across these three areas. We learn. So in this room, there's hundreds of years of collective experience. So we are learning enthusiasts, constant learners. we share. So we want to share with our colleagues, share with our peers, share our experiences, and look forward to opportunities to do that. And then we teach. We want you to take at least one thing away from this today and teach it to someone close to you that you think it would be of value to. So that's the rule of 33. I hope you take that and run with that throughout the session and beyond. Now, I want everyone just to remind themselves of how to use Zoom. If you haven't used Zoom before, you've been living in a cave. So I'm not going to tell you how to use Zoom. You've all got a toolbar at the bottom with all your options. I want you to find the toolbar, find the chat box, and just give me a quick one little blurt thought definition of what you believe a good leader is. So finish this sentence for me. A good leader is in that chat box. And if the chat box doesn't start to light up, we've got some problems. So while it's lighting up, a good leader is approachable. A good leader is inspiring, someone who listens, someone who's honest. Michael says one who leads by example. Alice, a good listener. One who empowers, a good listener, someone who practices what they preach, inspires and passionate. Good. Okay. So that chat thread tells me that you're all alive and awake. You know how to use the chat, and you're all in the right room. So that's a good start and a good bonus. The other thing I want you to just tell me because we love our Wize community, and it kind of spans into different parts of the world these days. So find that chat box again and just tell us where you're tuning into from today. And then we'll get stuck in. So I want to see if you Adelaide, Natasha from Adelaide, Philadelphia, Utah, Mackay, good old Mackay. I grew up in Mackay. Hey, Jen. Bacchus Marsh, Sydney, Vancouver, Albany, Gippsland, Swan Hill. So a good few Aussies. Awesome. So all parts of the globe. Currently on the GC. You've been at a conference. Well done. Good stuff, Andrew. All right, guys. Let's get stuck in then. The first conversation I want to have is putting Jamie in the spotlight. And I may call on some of the people in the room. I may call on some of the Wize team to contribute here. But I would really like to dive into a bit of a conversation around unlocking your potential and what that looks like from a leadership perspective. But Jamie, before we get into some of the questions I've got for you, how do you frame the conversation of leadership? To you, what is leadership in general? And then we might start going down a rabbit hole of getting a bit more specific to these accounting and bookkeeping businesses.
Yeah, well, I think, leadership is knowing the way, really like knowing for each individual, and particularly the leader, is knowing where you are now and where you want to get to. So, I think it's important that in leadership, the leader is has a lot of clarity about themselves. And it's pretty hard to lead other people as a leader without understanding yourself. So that's like an absolute key to that. And part of that is understanding, what your strengths, what your weaknesses are, what your goals are. So I think, the core of leadership is, is walking the talk, is essentially integrity. And, part of that whole integrity process and leadership is being vulnerable is just part of that as well. So it's important, I think, that, leadership is about knowing the way to get there. And that's why we're here today with Wize Mentoring. And, it's, 10 years ago, I engaged Ed Chan as my mentor, as my leader. And, that was really the turning point. The other day I sent out a weekend Wize tip, and again referred to Ed being that lighthouse that I needed to focus on in terms of to move forward towards, my goals and my dreams, and then bringing everyone in my firm along for that journey as well. So it's not just about yourself. The other 50% of it is about bringing people along for the journey as well. And that all stems down to having someone whether it's a community or someone in your life that you can look up to and really, aspire to who they are and what they've got and what they've achieved. So, there's a million books written on, leadership, as everyone would know here. But in essence, I think the really thing for me that defines it is having a coach, having a mentor, someone that you can look up to. And, I know there's been other workshops we've had, Brent, where we've asked all the attendees, for example, you could do it today to say, who is the one person in your life? Who is the one person in your career that gave you an opportunity, that gave you a chance to shine, that embraced your potential, that embraced your ambition? And hopefully most of us can name that one person almost within, 30 seconds. So leadership starts with knowing the way and leaning into the experience of other people, leaders who have done it. And that's really the key for me, because I don't see value in reinventing the wheel. That's the long way to where your goals are. So yeah, the leadership, the central lighthouse to it is finding someone who's already taken the journey that you have and walking the talk with integrity.
So Jamie, sometimes I feel like there's a false assumption that leadership is attached to a role or a position as opposed to being a skill that we can develop. In the room today, we've got everyone from the firm. So we don't just have firm owners, we've got everyone from administrators to practice managers to client managers, accountants, bookkeepers, and firm owners. So what would you say to everyone in the room who may have thought up until this point that leadership was the firm owner, or leadership is the prime minister, or it's a role or a title as opposed to an attribute, a skill?
Yeah, I mean, look, it really comes down, I think, for anyone, as if anyone here's heard of Rachel Robinson, who's a great leadership expert and coach and led an Australian expedition to Antarctica and back. And Rachel Robinson always says that, you need to lead from where you stand, or you need to lead from where you are, and it doesn't matter what role you play in the organisation. And Rachel goes on to say, in detail, what does that actually mean by leading from where you are? And she absolutely pinpoints that it's integrity. And she talks a lot about no triangles policy. And what we mean by integrity is, particularly in a workplace or an organisation or a team environment, that essentially that if you've got hopes and dreams and ambitions, you've got inspirations. On the flip side, if you're disgruntled or upset about where you are within your career, is that you take it to your direct report, that you take it directly with integrity, with authenticity to your boss, if you can put it that way. And because that's where all leadership starts. Every person can lead from where they are with integrity. But as soon as you start creating triangles, and as soon as you start creating politics within any organisation, then it's the downfall of that business. It's actually not contributing to the goodwill, to the culture of the place. So Rachel Robinson goes into depth about this whole point. And over the years, I've studied this so intensely in terms of even recruiting, even retaining staff, even recruiting staff. And one of the first, absolute pyramids on the recruiting process for anyone going for a job is just integrity and honesty in their approach. So I think, if we could draw some of those sort of great leaders like Rachel Robinson, for example, I would say that leading from where you are, doesn't matter what role you play in any organisation or any firm or business or team, is to always be direct, be upfront, and don't be scared of raising things that you're concerned with, and speaking the truth directly with the person that you report to, so that you can make your firm, your organisation better in that process. So I'd say that's the absolute foundation of really highly functioning firms that I've worked with over the years.
So let's look at the industry as a broader view. You're working with firms all around the world. You've got your own firm that's growing fast. What are you seeing when you look at the accounting and bookkeeping industry right now today? Where do you see the biggest gaps in leadership?
Yeah, the biggest gap is it sort of the whole problem is, I guess, why Wize Mentoring exists in essence is that all of us are born out of what we call the production area. So so most of us go to school, we go past secondary education, we go into university, and we get all the technical ability, and then as we travel along our career, all of a sudden we have to be in charge of someone. We have to lead someone. So as soon as someone reports to you, you're a leader in that aspect of circle of influence outside yourself. And so as soon as you have to start managing people, this is where the issues arise. And the reason is, Brandon, is because we don't get taught how to manage people. Like, we don't get trained at university how to actually manage other people and are given practical everyday skills to do that. Only this week, I had a big session with a business coaching client at my own firm, and the person who attended had just finished her MBA, Master of Business. And after the meeting, she mentioned to her boss that that the things that we went through in that session she'd never learnt doing the MBA, which was quite fascinating me from an academic point of view. So the problem sort of stems from is learning how to manage people, and that's really part of why only about 4 to 6% of firms or businesses worldwide have revenue more than $1 million. And it's because that barrier of growth of how to hire correctly, how to keep people in the firm, because the foundation of any business in your firm is really the people. People's the foundation. Without people, you can't achieve anything. In our industry, you need people, and then it's obviously following the right processes to get the right performance or outcomes. So there's some really big rocks hitting our industry. We've got in history, there's never been the biggest wealth transfer that we have at the moment with the baby boomers. And so there's a lot of demand for succession planning, compliance services across all countries. So it's a good time to be in the industry for those who are organised. Yeah. And even career prospects, like for career development and growth as well.
Yeah, it's interesting you touch on that, because on the one hand, we've got this transfer of wealth. So, with that comes this almost tsunami over the next 10 years of, that wealth changing hands and all the work that comes with it for our profession and like professions. But then we've also got this, massive wave of potential disruption at the moment. The buzzword of the last 18 months being, the use of AI. And it doesn't matter where you look now, we're being told that AI is coming for our jobs. And it doesn't matter which job it is, it's coming for all our jobs. So it's not just, the bookkeepers and accountants, it's you and me as business owners. So how are you approaching this? Because I'm sure your staff are coming to you potentially with concerns or with getting caught up, swept up in the noise. From a leadership perspective, how are you approaching this new thing that's trying to take all of our jobs and livelihoods?
Well, you can't really change it. It's part of throughout history we've always had technology and progress, and it keeps just improving efficiency. So in essence, you want to embrace it. I think I use ChatGPT every day. Like, I literally use ChatGPT every day to source information, to find information, to help create policies and procedures, to help draft responses and emails. So it's an absolute fantastic tool that's really hit across all industries at the moment. So it's important that you absolutely embrace AI in every shape and form where you can, where it just simply drives efficiency and drives you to better. So that's, that's a big part, and we'll continue to see that as technology progresses as well. So, and the other thing is that, I don't think I've ever seen more compliance in my, 25-year career than at the moment, in terms of, even in Australia, with, government regulation, taxes, laws. So the demand is high, the efficiency is needed around AI, and software will continue to develop, and it's important that firms really continue that investment in training staff how to use it. Adopting new technology is extremely important. But I'd also argue, Brenton, that training in managing people and leading yourself, some of the topics that we'll talk about today, like career audit, career planning, providing a clear career path for people, that's the foundation. No amount of technology will replace how people are led and managed successfully.
Mm-hmm. And I want to touch on your experience in this, because you didn't get to where you are today just overnight, and doing all the right things. You've traveled the path just as every other firm owner is. Take me back a few years when sort of pre-ed, you were trying to build your firm. It was all kind of coming down on top of you, and affecting every area of your life, including, I'm assuming, leading people, managing people, one of the biggest things. At what point did you realize it wasn't just a business plan and strategy that you had to implement here? You had to fundamentally change who you were as a person, become a leader, and invest in your people.
Yeah, I mean, the core of it, Brent, it's all in the context of what the individual's trying to achieve. So, in that process to grow, it's in the context of what, my career or aspirations were for myself in the business. So, I mean, what I'm trying to say is, like, if you're happy with doing exactly what you're doing now, then there's really no need to change. So, so that's where you've got to be really clear on who you are, what you want, and what do you want to achieve from your career and your life and your business. So, that's really, really important. And actually, I'll be able to pop some questions in the chat for everyone that I think are absolutely foundational to opening the door to their own career, professional and personal growth. So I'll pop it in the chat for everyone, that those who can answer it. So in that sense, it's in that context of having those goals, Brenton, and then when you're not achieving those goals and you find yourself stuck, then you've got to realize that maybe you need to think differently. Maybe the way I'm thinking is not getting the results, and maybe the way I'm acting is not getting the results that I need as an individual, and whatever role that I'm in the firm. So that's really where I realized that I wasn't moving forward. And so, like, in that essence, you've got to continually stop and reflect and ask yourself, is my career progressing? Is my business progressing? But before that, you've actually got to write down what your goals are. Like, actually write down what they are. And then once you've got down what your goals are and what the end game is, then you can then stop and reflect and say, well, am I moving towards, my destination? And then really that was the opening point for me, that I wasn't moving forward. And so I went on this journey of trying to seek out, coaches and mentors and get the guidance. And that's where I obviously met my mentor, Ed Chan, who had essentially the knowledge and done and achieved the lifestyle and the goals that, I wanted to do. And then, of course, everyone comes on that journey with you then. So I think the key takeaway for everyone watching is just ask yourself, have I got my goals, my career aspirations clearly written down? Do I know what they are? Do I know what my values are? And that's a really great starting point. Actually, I'll just pop them in the chat now, Brenton, and they're really some really depthing questions to help everyone here on that journey. I'll just pop them in there. Hopefully everyone can get them now, if you can see them now. And so those questions are popped in there. just have a look at them, everyone, and take some time out in your life to answer those questions, because I think that's a great starting point around leading yourself and giving you that context to say, well, have I got the right person in my life to help me achieve those goals? So there's really, really, really powerful questions for everyone to answer in terms of self-leadership, and then surrounding yourself or being with the right people who can help you achieve those goals, whoever you are.
Mm-hmm. So Jen asked a great question there. What are some of the blind spots? What are the blind spots that do you think we might be, sorry, what are the blind spots do you think we might have as leaders? What are we not seeing?
Absolutely. Yeah, great question, Jen. Look, essentially, we don't know what we don't know. We've just, in the context of getting to Mount Everest or whatever your goals are, we've never done it before. So how do we know? So the really, like, even if you look at the 4 stages of learning, everyone, that psychologists always refer to, in the context of your goal, the first stage of learning is you've got unconscious incompetence. So essentially, you don't know what you don't know. So first step, set your goal, and perhaps answer those questions I've put in the chat. That's the first thing. Understand what your goals are and who you are and where you want to get to. And then from that, understand that you don't know what you don't know. So you don't know how to get there because you've obviously never done it before. You've only got one life. And then, in essence, the psychologists say, you've got, you're unconscious of your incompetency. In other words, you don't know how to do it. So I'd say that's the first step to recognize, Brenton, like I did. Hey, hand up, hand on heart, I need help. Drop the ego. You got to drop the ego. I remember 10 years ago when Ed mentored me, and I wanted to lead myself better and lead the firm to this goal. It was like, leave the ego at the back door. That was the first thing, Jen, if that answers the question.
And have you lent on any frameworks now? I'd consider what you just posted in that chat there a framework, but have you lent into any frameworks of recent times, or anyone that you follow specifically on this topic of leadership that have had a profound impact or like opened up some really good learnings for you to help evolve your journey?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, some of the key people, obviously Ed Chan, but 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Dr. Stephen Covey's book is, even if you research it yourself, it's the most read and sold business book, I think, in history, based on the research. So the 7 Habits is absolutely critical. People like Dan Martell is another one that I know, Brent, you and I follow. I really wholeheartedly believe in a lot of the inspiration that Dan teaches. And just, I think for me personally, it's just books. I'm just really, an avid reader and probably a lifelong learner and truth seeker. You can never stop learning. And so, the more time that you can take to read and, unlock what you don't know, is just, fantastic. If you like reading and you've got a pursuit of finding out facts, finding out what works and finding out what doesn't, trust me, you'll never be bored. Some people might say they hate reading. I'll read it.
You prompted me to ask you because many of our coaching clients on the call know and attest to this, but leadership isn't about these fundamental, monumental shifts in your life. It's about the tiny habits that you instill in your life and do those consistently. So I want you to just talk to everyone around the topic of non-negotiables, because we're pretty heavy-handed on them, and crack the whip quite a bit around the accountability of non-negotiables. So for those who may not have heard of, our version of it, can you explain?
So yeah, we always often talk about our 5 non-negotiables, and in a practical sense, you can bring these, into every day in your life. So in essence, if you want to I guess move forward in the context against whatever your goals are, there's really 5 things that each firm and even at an individual level that you can implement. And the first one really is allow at least half an hour or 1 hour a day to work on yourself. So not in essence like work in the business, if you like, or work sort of in your career, but to put 1 hour aside and in a practical sense, put it in your calendar, because you want to live in the present moment. You want to live with assertiveness and with intention so that you're moving towards your goal. And you won't move towards your goal unless you put some time aside every day to work on yourself or on your business. So that's really the first one. And in a practical sense, you can go to your calendar right now and do this. This is what I did. The second one is, and I could probably reference 3 books for each of these topics. If you don't believe me, I could give you 3 books that say you should do this. just to back that up. The second non-negotiable is Gary Keller's book, The One Thing. So try and just work on one thing at a time. Again, human behavioralists have found that multitasking, it just doesn't work. So it's important. The second point is that when you do set that time aside, whether on your career or on your business or whatever it is, just to work on one thing at a time. It has a domino effect. You start with a tiny little thing that you work, and then it hits it. And then once you've done that one thing, you choose slightly a bigger project, and it has this massive, ends up hitting a really big domino effect over time. And that's exactly what I found. The third one there, and I think it's really important, and again, there's probably 1 million books written on this, not probably 1 billion, Brenton, is make sure that you exercise at least 30 minutes a day. And hand up why I was a little bit late today was I was out exercising and didn't realise that time got away. So that's my vulnerability there, everyone. But make sure that you exercise at least 30 minutes a day. And again, if you're not finding that you're doing that, then again, put it in your calendar. It's really important to keep commitments to yourself, because your psychology is your physiology. There's just so much hard proof evidence that you'll be a better leader, a better person, a more fulfilled person, even mentally and career-wise, when you exercise. It's just a simple fact. So I think that's the third one. The fourth one is really to make sure you set aside or get into, and these are habits, everyone. So habits are very, very strong. Once you ingrain these habits, is to put aside about 10 minutes a day to inspire yourself. So 10 minutes of listening or 10 minutes of reading, just of inspirational, motivational material, and do that every day. And the fifth one is really to make sure that you measure or seek facts. And at a business sense, Brenton, we always talk about the Fab Five, which is the 5 key performance indicators. But even at a career sense or an individual sense, is to understand what your goals are, what your key performance indicators are, like in your role. And if you don't know, you need to get clarity with that, with the people that you report to or who you work with, and then make sure that you measure your progress. Because if you don't have the facts, what you don't measure, you can't manage. And so you end up sort of being like a ship on the ocean without a rudder, and you can sort of end up going anywhere. But if you clearly know in your career or in your business what those KPIs are, and in a business sense, we call them the Fab Five, the KPIs, or even at an individual sense, then you're going to, that will influence your behavior, because you'll be able to clearly see on a regular basis that you're either moving towards your goals or that you're moving away from your goals. But without that dashboard in your mind, or that dashboard in your car as an analogy, you won't know where you're heading. That's really the 5 non-negotiables. That back in the early days, I actually had it in my calendar. So I used to put that at 6 o'clock, those 5 habits, to remind me that those things are non-negotiable. And then once I created those habits, I removed them from my calendar.
Okay, so to test if someone was listening to all of that, if you could, none of the team do this, if you could throw into the chat what those 5 non-negotiables are so everyone else can have that for reference, that would be amazing. Just a little test to see how we go here. It's Jamie, to round out this conversation, because we've got some great sessions coming up with some of the other team at Wize, but to round out this conversation, and to kind of segue from what you're just talking about there around, evolving and developing our career and planning our goals and planning our career pathway. Talk to us about scaling culture, because as a firm grows, and it grows in both client size and team size, the culture will change and evolve as the firm grows. But how do you maintain a really close sense of culture as a leader to ensure that you don't lose heart or you don't lose your way along this, aspiration of growth?
Yeah, well, the culture in any organization, I mean, they always say culture always beats strategy, and I do agree with that, but the culture's got to be led by the leaders. The culture really has to be led by the leaders in the firm. And then it's understanding that, after about more than, say, 5 to 7 direct reports, your ability to influence that culture and to influence people starts to really dilute. So there's a lot of research around the world that goes into that. The creation of teams is absolutely essential to maintaining a culture, and that's just simply because we've only got so many hours in a week, and so in essence, Brenton, you can't have 40 people all reporting to the one person, if you like. So in essence, the backbone of creating a great culture is it has to be led by the leader, and then the key leader within a team must have around 5 to 7 direct reports who they routinely develop a very professional and deep relationship with those 5 to 7 people. And that's where the culture is built. The culture is built in the quality of the discussions and the communication that the leader of that team has every day, every week, every month. And that's why I'm so focused these days on having at least a monthly one-on-one with your direct reports, and we'll talk a lot more about that today. So for example, like in my own firm, I've got about 7 direct reports, so I'm nearly sort of maxed out at the moment. And then as the firm grows, you have to then restructure to make sure that you don't have more than sort of 5 to 7 direct reports, because there's no point, Jamie, having 20 direct reports, because then my time and influence starts to dilute. And so every person in the firm has to grow with a growing firm. But the key to developing a great culture is the quality of the relationships between the individuals and the leader of that team. I mean, it's a classic saying, Brenton, that people don't leave firms; they always leave their boss. They always leave their leader. It's time and time again. That's the way it is. So you've got to make sure that you follow this team structure. So logistically, so that's one of the barriers to growth, is the second barrier to growth. The first barrier to growth is leadership. If you don't know how to lead, you're going to struggle. The second barrier to growth is logistics, and fundamentally how you structure and teams and people. So, because if you think about it, the quality or the culture of the firm is the quality of the relationships within the business and the relationships between the people.
Just to touch on that point in the opposite direction, and to touch on Natasha's question, because we focus on growth and what the culture looks like as we grow, but for firms who are smaller in headcount, where there is only a couple of people, there also is a tendency not to focus on the culture because it's only myself and a couple of team members. But it's just as important, right? It's the foundation, it's the fabric, the makings of.
Yeah. Arguably, when you're smaller, it's such a great opportunity to instill these foundations, right? Because if you don't have these foundations that you're talking about, you will struggle, because if you've got problems when you're small and then you try and scale or grow, you're only going to scale problems. So, for example, all firms here today, should be writing down and embracing how to have, a monthly one-on-one coaching session between the manager and the direct report. Because and if you can start that when you've got one staff member, or two or three people on a team, if you can start that now, that is such a great habit. It's all about instilling good habits as early as you can. I always wish that I had known these things 20 years ago. But that's not life, is it? It's just the way it is.
So Jamie, I'm going to wrap up the conversation there. I'd love for you to try and distill everything that you've just spoken about over the last 40 minutes into one insight and actionable takeaway. So for everything that you've just shared, what's one thing that you'd like everyone to walk away with on this topic of becoming a better leader on this Friday or Thursday, wherever you're tuning into?
Yeah, I think the one thing that really resonates with me is that each individual answer those 7 questions I put in the chat. What I mean by that is just write down what it is that you want from your career and your life. Write down your goals, because the world really does lack leadership, and leadership starts with writing down what your career, business goals are, and that would be the one key takeaway. And if you're really keen to go further, answer those 7 questions for yourself, and understand what they mean to you, and then that'll be the one practical takeaway. That's a great leap and step forward for anyone. Even I've got 4 children, right? Doesn't get any closer to home than my own kids. Is to teach my own kids to write down what their goals are and what they want from life and their career as soon as they practically can.
Brilliant. Love it. Awesome insights as always, Jamie. Thank you. Thanks for sharing. We're going to switch gears a little bit now, guys. And I'm not sure if you've been to one of our leadership summits before, but one of the things we like to do is have a little bit of a battle between our mentors to spice things up. So, it's a constant battle for attention these days on social media. So it's no different in here, where the mentors want your attention. And so what we're going to do for this next part of the summit is what we call the Wize Pitch Fest. So there's going to be 4 learning streams or breakout rooms that you have available to you. But in order to choose which one you go to, the hosts of each of those breakout rooms have to give a 30-second pitch on why you should attend their breakout room. And then you have to decide. And then there's a punishment for the mentor who gets the least number into their room. And then there's a reward for the one who gets the most. So choose wisely. So the 4 hosts of our breakout rooms today are, so we've got Jamie, who has just shared a great amount of knowledge there. We've got Tim Corsbrook. You're here now, Tim?
Yep. Hey, everybody.
And we've got Thomas and Christy, who you met earlier. So first things first, Jamie, you've got 30 seconds to pitch why everyone should be coming into your room to talk about quad activities. What are you going to talk about and why should they come? Time starts now.
All right. Thanks, Brenton. If you want to learn how to work out tasks that will either keep you spinning on the hamster wheel, if I like, versus tasks or activities that will move you forward towards your goals and your career aspirations, then join my room. We'll talk in depth about what we call quad activities, which in essence, some activities are urgent and important versus activities that are not urgent, that important. And I'll help you learn how you can use this tool to transform your life and your business.
Good one.
Is that 30 seconds?
Setting the bar there. Yeah. 31 seconds. So I gave you a second. All right. Who have we got next? Tim.
How's it
Tim,
going?
we'll spotlight Tim and unmute him.
Hey.
Tim, tell us what you're going to be talking about and why everyone should attend your room.
For sure. So retaining staff is one of the biggest problems in our industry, really any industry in 2025. And if you've ever tiptoed on eggshells around your staff or worried if they were looking, on LinkedIn for another job, I'm going to give you an absolute masterclass in how to retain them. And not just retain them, but to get them on career tracks and get their most potential out of them, which will ultimately help you as well in your firm with your withdrawal process. So it's a win-win. So yeah, come along today if you want to retain your staff.
Perfect. So Tim, just to be clear on that, your room is for firm owners, just for anyone who isn't a firm owner in the room who's looking to think about their career wheel, or is it for everyone?
No, it's for everyone. It's for everyone for sure. Yeah.
Perfect. All right. Thomas. Let's highlight Thomas and unmute yourself. You've normally got a full-on presentation for this 30-second pitch. So.
No, it's a bit more relaxed, just like the thing I'm going to be showing what we need to implement, and that's all around one-on-ones with your staff, mentoring them. And I'm going to be specifically going through how you can make a good impression with new hires, onboard them correctly, have them understanding the values and culture of your firm, and then transition from weekly into monthly one-on-one coaching sessions. I'm going to go through specifically what questions you should be asking. There's going to be lots of examples and role play, and this is really important for retention. We kind of just leave it to these once a year annual performance reviews and ask them what their goals are. It really doesn't work. As leaders, we need to get their buy-in, and one-on-one mentoring sessions are absolutely key. I've been doing them with my own team for a year now, and I have 2 scheduled this afternoon, and I found they've made all the difference in really getting deeper and more connected with the team. And it's just amazing. That's what we need to withdraw, have the team looking out for us and understanding our values of the firm. So join this one if you want to go into specific questions and learn how to implement one-on-one mentoring with new hires and even existing team members as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
And just to clarify, can anyone attend this, or is it more specifically tuned to firm owners?
Yeah, anyone can attend this, owners and especially managers and owners. Owners, training managers, and managers with team members, for sure.
All right. And Christy, talk to us about career audits and helping everyone identify their ideal career.
Thanks, Brenton. And I think firstly, this is a great one. This is absolutely for anyone and everyone attending today. So you'll all come across this task, I hope. And, you've got to think, have you ever had that feeling that either for yourself or your team, something just feels off? Someone's doing the job, but their heart's not fully in it. They're just going through the motions. We're going to deep dive into the career audit SOP and process that we have in our Wize Vault to help you as firm owners, managers, and also your team members figure out if they're in the right role, what really lights them up, and how to build a career path that actually excites everyone. So we're going to walk through our simple 7-step process to completing a career audit. It's going to be interactive. It's going to kickstart this process for everyone so that you can be really taking control of your future. And yeah, I'm excited to share this process with everyone.
Love it. I'm going to give my vote to Christy because I absolutely love this career audit exercise. So if you haven't seen it or experienced it, I'm going to give Christy's room a nudge. So here we go, guys. We've got 4 great rooms for you. Tim's going to be talking about the career wheel and how everyone can look at certain components in the career wheel and have a discussion around what that means to their career and the firm. Jamie's going to be talking about the quad activities, so what activities you're currently doing versus what activities you could be delegating or how to remove yourself from those activities. Tom is going to be talking about the power of one-on-ones, and Christy on career audit. So Sammy, do you have our breakout rooms ready to go? All right. So guys, in your toolbar, you should have a breakout rooms button. All you have to do from now and the next minute is hit which room that you want to enter. You're going to go into that room. Hosts, can I remind you to record your sessions, please, in your rooms? You will get a recording of the other sessions if you're struggling to choose which one to go to, but it's better to be there live, so choose wisely. So guys, we'll see you in around half an hour after a great conversation in your breakout rooms, but find your breakout room button and make your way in there. All right, we're back. Geez, 30 minutes flies by, doesn't it? Did we cut you off mid-conversation to pull you back in the room, or did you end up having enough time to chat?
Oh, well, we were just getting to the real good questions, real nitty-gritty
And
questions.
then axed it. Sorry about that. We've got a tight ship to run here today. So I'm not sure how the mentors feel about this, but we had a fairly clear winner today of the rooms, and that was our head mentor, Jamie John. So well done, Jamie.
Oh,
You win. You win a free one-on-one session with yourself. So happy days. Enjoy that.
My boss is my wife, so that.
So who's in Jamie's room? I want to pick on someone in Jamie's room, or if you want to nominate yourself to give us an insight or a takeaway from that session. Who wants to help me out here?
Don't be shy, guys.
All right, Jamie, you get to pick on someone.
Well, we really got into we're getting into a really good deep discussion with Hank Wang. Hank, it was good, Hank, that you asked that question, and hopefully we had almost time to answer it there. So if you can call on Hank.
Hank, yeah.
Do you want to give us your takeaway?
Yeah, I think the takeaway is, when you're going through the quality activities, writing down everything that you do, be as detailed as possible. And, when you're looking to delegate, if you have like a list of 20 things, pick one thing at a time, write out the SOPs, and then teach it and delegate it, and then move to the next one.
Perfect.
Awesome. Love it.
Cheers,
thanks, Hank. Now, who was in Thomas's room talking about one-on-ones? Thomas, do you want to nominate someone? Oh, have we got Ange and... Oh, no, they're just putting their hand on the screen. Thomas, who are you going to nominate?
Yeah.
Oh, we do have Jane. Jane's put her hand up there.
Yes, she is. Sorry, we were on mute. I was trying to unmute us. We're crowded around the phone here.
You're twinning on the phone.
Yeah, we're twinning.
Hey, Jane.
We had hi, Thomas. Loved your session and really inspired to work through the SOP, tailor it to our software, and share with our CSM so that we can implement this. And I really got the fact that, that the whole crisp transcript thing to review later and have as a review for the next time and build on each interview, and really deep diving on the personal side, and then build the bridge of helping them empower themselves. I thought that was amazing.
Awesome.
I've probably taken interviews too high level, and this really gives me a tool and Ange here to go deep and be, really build a bridge with that person. So we've already started the career wheels and they've been very powerful, but this will take it to a whole new level. So
awesome. So happy.
Very excited. Very excited.
Jane.
Well done, guys. Keep us posted.
Yes.
Tim, quick comment from Tim's room. Tim, who do you want to talk to?
Anthony, would you be up for jumping in?
Yeah, all right. I'll always talk.
You're the best.
Always a good opportunity. That was good. We went through the career wheel and sort of looked at the different steps there, and I suppose it was delving into a level of depth with the team on really what their focus was and how that focus aligned to the firm. And I suppose just delving in and understanding where different levels of that are at by putting a measure against it. And we sort of ran through I think it was 8 steps, if I recall correctly, went through the different 8 steps and how that could be approached with each person. And a question I brought up was just in regards to trying to get around that point of people giving answers more to address my view of the discussion, as opposed to getting answers from them of their view of the discussion, which is always going to be a bit of a challenging thing. And we sort of tossed around some ideas of really just sticking in there and repeating the process, and maybe every 6 months and a level of comfort will come about. That means that people will start opening up. So it's not going to be have the meeting and you get all the answers. But no, good session.
Brilliant. Great share. Thank you, Anthony. And finally, Christy, who are you going to pick on to round us out and give us some gold from yours?
I would love to get Jen in the hot seat.
Jen always likes getting a hot seat. Now, Jen, you're a talker and I got a tight ship to run, so give us your soundbite.
Understanding that there's a difference between a career audit and a career wheel was super. Knowing that that's where you really hone down into, what are the things that excite you in your life. So there's a real difference between that, and I didn't really get that until now.
Amazing. Now, Jen, I noticed your shirt before. You have to stand up and show your shirt off to everyone because I love it.
That's Australia, Philippines.
That's a piece of merch right there. I like it. Well done.
That was our get together when we went to visit our team in the Philippines. That was
amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. Well, you might get another chance to do that if we have anything to say about it, but more to come on that later. So, guys, I hope you enjoyed that session. We're going to shift gears slightly, and one of the things we like to do is we now want to send you back into another breakout room, but this breakout room is tailored to it's role specific. So what we'd like to do is have a conversation around leadership and kind of open the room up. So we don't record these sessions. It's I think the Chatham House rules, I think they call it, where what happens in that room stays in that room. So if everyone can abide by that. And Tim, you'll correct me on that if I've said that wrong. But we've got 3 breakout rooms. The first one with Jamie and Christy is going to be owners and client managers. The second is senior production managers, accountants, bookkeepers. And then the third breakout room is for if we've got any grads, practice managers, administration team with Thomas. So the purpose and the idea of these rooms, guys, is to have a more concentrated conversation around leadership or some of the challenges you may be facing or the questions you might have on leadership that could be specific to your role, and just have a group of like-minded people around you to do that. So I would love you to find your breakout room button again, now that everyone knows how to use it, and jump into the room that is applicable to you. So breakout room 1, owners and client managers, 2, senior production managers, accountants and bookkeepers, and 3, grads, admin, office and practice managers with Thomas. So we're going to spend pretty much half an hour and then come back and wrap up together. But have an awesome session, be open, be interactive, and share some really good stuff with each other. All right, we're rushing in. Wowee, 2 hours flies by, doesn't it? All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed that session. I'm just going to change my view so I can see all your faces. So we've got a couple of minutes left together, and I would love to hear some little takeaways before we all head off to either the rest of our Friday or a Thursday evening for the Northern Hemisphere folks. So I wouldn't mind, if possible, if I could pick on a couple of those who are new to Wize. If this is your first leadership summit, would you mind nominating yourself, putting your hand up? We can unmute you and just hear a couple of little takeaways or insights from the sessions today, or anything that you're taking away from the conversation today? All right. Anyone? Anyone? Anyone?
I can go if you like.
Where we go? Who we got?
Got Amanda Blinko.
Amanda.
Yeah. So I've got out that you've got to be good with working with your team and just delegate. Have that. They were talking about a post-it note. Should I be doing this? So that was something that I really
The old
took away. I
Post-it
need to
note.
work on. So yeah.
Love it. Great. Well done. Is this your first leadership summit, or did you just nominate yourself?
No, it's my first one.
Is it? Oh, all right.
Yes.
There you go. Geez, it feels like forever since Sydney as well, doesn't it? Time flies.
Definitely.
Well, thank you for sharing. Who else do we have? Come on, guys. Give me 2 minutes. I'll open up to the entire room. If anyone wants to put their hand up and unmute themselves, give me a couple of little nuggets. David Monteith, you've just popped up on my screen. You're a striking looking chap. So let's get you unmuted and share something with us.
Thank you. Biggest thing I got was the 4-quadrant thing, which I understand the concept. I read 7 Habits years and years and years ago. I need to dust it off and read it again. But I just watching that on the screen while we were going through it reminded me of all the quad 1 things that I still do, even though I know better. You know, I'm almost entirely out of doing productive work, like doing actual bookkeeping or accounting work. I do very, very, very little. But the bit that I do left still, I'm gonna work this month on delegating that and getting rid of that last little bit, because it's always, I put it off and put it off and put it off until it's urgent, and then it's inconvenient for me to do it. So I need to delegate to somebody that can add it to their regular workflow so that it never becomes urgent. It always gets done in the normal course of things. So.
Great to hear. Brilliant share. Thank you. Loop back in a month when you've delegated. And Rose, you have a lovely background, so I'm picking on you. Would you mind unmuting yourself and sharing something?
Yep. My key takeaway for the session is you don't need to know everything. Like you just have to be honest with the client as assistant manager. So I think that's important thing.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Great point. And we were only talking about that this week, weren't we, Jamie? Like the authenticity. It's okay to be a bit vulnerable and say, you know, I don't know that, but I'll get back to you.
There's the last takeaway, Brent. A great client manager has empathy, authenticity, and enthusiasm.
There you go. Another little gold nugget. You had to squeeze one in there just before we went out in the hour.
I'm going to do that.
You're good at that. And Aaron, I lost you on my screen for a second there, but Aaron Barron, you were the first one to put in the 5 non-negotiables in full form. So I'm going to pick on you and say thank you for that. But anything you'd like to share as a bit of a takeaway?
Yeah, just to micro train, don't micromanage. Get the procedures in place and get the delegation happening.
Amen. Love it. Great. Well, guys, thank you so much for joining us for another one of our, we love these sessions, these leadership summits. So thank you so much for investing the time. We know you're busy. So 2 hours out of your day is a big chunk, and to bring any of your team members, for those who have brought your team, it's an even bigger chunk. So thank you for investing in it. I hope it's been valuable. We do send a little survey out after this just to get your feedback, because we want to make these events better. So however we can do that, and if you can share freely on that, we would be truly appreciative. And even if you wouldn't mind leaving us a little testimonial of the event that we could try and draw others to the next one, that would be even better. So thank you to all our mentors and all of our team who shared so freely and shared all their knowledge today. So once again, thank you to all our new people into the Wize community. We hope you've enjoyed the session. As you can see, you've got a good bunch around you here. If you want to come back and hang out with us anytime, we'll have you. And I wish everyone a lovely weekend. Keep doing what you're doing. Take one thing away from this session, as Jamie said, the one thing, get that hour a day into your calendar. And we hope you're all better leaders for leaving this room today. So thanks again, everyone, and have a lovely weekend.